Hello, everybody. I am Kathleen Watkins, and I welcome you to the Outlive Your Life Legacy podcast, where you learn how to write your life story 2 pages at a time. That's right, 2 pages at a time. One of the greatest risks we face each day is living day to day without any reflection of who we are, what we've done, where we've been, and what really matters to us. Each of us is unique. There has never been anyone exactly like you, and there never will be. Okay, so how is everybody today?
Doing great.
I'm good.
Good. Okay, I have 2 very interesting people with me today, and I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
I'm Sherri Williams, and I am excited to be here. I have been I'm a native of Oklahoma City and retired from Oklahoma Department of Human Service as an application specialist.
Okay, well, thank you, Sherri. And Sherri, you have been through the Outlive Your Life Legacy workshop.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, okay, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
All right, and my next guest is
Robert Gaines. I am a native of Oklahoma City, a barber. And a little about myself is I am a cabinet maker, furniture maker also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I have yet to see some of that work too, Robert. Okay, I know about your barbering. I've yet to see your up close cabinet work. I've seen it on photos, but not just up close. Okay, so I know these 2 people pretty well, and they both have been in one of my classes. I will say it's been a while since I've done a podcast, and I'm so happy to be back in the seat. Since then, I have been busy, though. I've been conducting workshops and the classes as well. In fact, I've done a couple of workshops at Ralph Ellison Library, and I continue to do classes online. Why do I do that? Because I think it's so important that we get our stories done. And I want to share it with everybody, the importance of them writing their story. Let me share this story with you. This is what got me started. It was in 2012, my granddaughter was taking a class over at OU on African American cultural studies. And I'll never forget that morning. It was cold that morning. It was kind of like it is today. And she said, "Grandma, we are doing a class on family history. Can you please email me some information?" I was devastated because I didn't have anything to send her. And you got to know my granddaughter. I'm so proud of her. And I wanted to be able to help her in any way I could. And I just felt like a failure. But what that did was it motivated me. It motivated me to start gathering information about my family. And I have not stopped yet. Because if you're like me, this is how I look at it. We are a part of a big picture, each of us. We belong to a family. And we're only a slice of that pie. I always use the picture of a pizza. We're only just a slice of that pizza, our family. And so it is our obligation, I feel, to have our part documented. So when they go on Ancestry.com or they begin to do their family history, then they have something that they can look for, look at. They will have my history, me and my family's history. That to me is important. That being said, I want to just remind you of who I am. I am an autobiography instructor, guided autobiography instructor. And what that means is that I guide you through the process of writing your stories. This is done on a theme base, universal themes, where you write 2 pages at a time. Themes such as turning points, my family, health and wellness, the role of money in your life. The list goes on, and you will be surprised what happens once you begin to write. Okay, so I'm going to stop doing all the talking now because I can talk, okay? But listen, so can my guests, okay? So I'm going to bring them in now. And first of all, what I would like for y'all to do is to really is to share with the listening audience why you took the class, the Outlive Your Life Legacy class. Why did you take it?
Well, I took it because I had taken a English course. And I started journaling about my life. And then I spoke with you, Miss Kathleen Watkins, about the significance of leaving something for my descendants, so they would know me. And I got to thinking about, I didn't know my after my dad's dad or my mother's dad, I was at a loss. I didn't know none of them, and I still don't know too much about them, except my sister does what you do. But she goes through Ancestry.com, and found out I have a sister that I didn't know about, and then I also found out that my great granddad, my mother's dad's dad, name is Robert Ray Vaughn, who I was always told that I was named after him, but putting a face with a picture and a little background about him it gives me a lot of insight about my life.
Okay, all right. And so, Robert, I heard you when you said that you didn't have much information on your family. And so this is why you wanted to go ahead and document your stories, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That and also it helps you understand family dynamics. It kind of helps you understand some of the things that may have happened in your life or in my life, I should say, and look at the patterns because some of those same patterns, some of those same traits are present today when you start looking back at your ancestry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a reason why I've documented a lot of my history for my descendants as well, because I think a mistake that some of us make is we only look at now. You have to look at 50 years from now. Let me tell you, when I was on Ancestry.com, I ran across someone in my family as far back as 1765. That's right, 1765. But I only had her name. And I thought, oh, man, I wonder what was she like? I would love to have heard the history. So when someone looked back at me, they're going to know about me. I want them to know about me so they can say, yeah, that's my grandma there. My grandma didn't let nothing stop her. She was writing plays, yeah. See, that's the way I want my descendants to look at me. I want them to know who I am.
Well, I wanted to say this one thing, that when I was looking at my great grandfather, my mother's dad's dad, he was born in 1801. But it also gave his mother and his father, and although it didn't say what year he was born, my sister said that she knows, so she was going to send it to me. And I thought, wow, it makes me want to take a ancestry, one of those tests now, because the DNA test, because it's kind of interesting that he built furniture. I mean, he was a carpenter. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, and it's documented. I was like, wow, because I never knew where that trait came from. All of my brothers are barbers, and so is my dad. So I'm like, well, where did this come from? And so there it goes.
That is very interesting. That's very interesting. Huh? Okay. How they say the apple doesn't fall far
from the tree.
And that is very, okay, Sherri, so what led you to take the class?
It is pretty much the same. And I would say one continuous beat was knowing that my father never was able to meet his father. And the fact that they fled Mississippi, migrated to Oklahoma during some of the worst times for African Americans in the South. I always wanted to know more about my great-grandparents. I wanted to know, were they slaves? Because those type of things, I remember wanting to know that. And with me losing my father, he lived to be 99, and how close it was to capture information, even his DNA, that would probably take a different route if I was able to get his DNA to submit into the Ancestry DNA or 23andMe. I just think how powerful that would have been. But to be able to give us a picture of my life for my great-great-grandkids. Because I said, if I could just receive it from my great-great-grandparents, knowing their occupation, knowing how their day-to-day lives, what made them smile, what made them, their favorite recipe, just a taste of what their lives would be something that I would really treasure. And if it was just one, but could you imagine? It could be their siblings and a whole network of information. If we just had that type of information, it would be great.
If we just provided the information, if we would document it so that they would have it. And you can I made up in my mind, I say, well, the buck stops right here. I'm going to ask for me and my descendants. They're going to have their history documented.
Well, there's something that's interesting. I pulled up this on my phone. It says when Robert Ray Vaughn was born on June 7th, and I made a mistake. I said 1801. It's 1901, June 7th, 1901, in Center Point, Arkansas. Well, both his parents, Dolly and Alexander was his dad, Dolly was his mother. They were 28 years old when they had him. So all I have to do is count back from 1901 to 1973, maybe 72, somewhere in there. 1872, which is really interesting because it's only less than a decade out from slavery, from approximate.
That's right, 1865 is when,
So it's less than a decade outside of slavery that his parents were born. So his parents had to have been slaves, and we all know that Arkansas was slaves.
Pretty rough.
Yeah, and it just happens to be in the deep this part of the South, which is Center Point. I checked it out on the map. It's like way deep South Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Arkansas was one of those states where it was really, really kind of rough. Okay, let me ask you all this. Tell me about your writing experience while you were in the class, because each week, and I'm talking to you, listening audience, each week they were assigned to write a story, 2-page story on different themes. So that meant every week they had to have a story ready. So tell me about that for you, and what was your favorite theme that you wrote on?
Well, the very first one was all the things were very good. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I think really surprised me as I wrote these things, and it would be the one when you ask us to describe your childhood home. I just could not believe, all the thoughts and memories and colors and even smells of food, all of that came back to me. And I was really excited about that. I just couldn't believe how much it started unlocking other thoughts. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's exactly what it does. Once you start, the memories begin to come forth. Okay, tell me about your experience, your writing experience, Robert, in writing those stories.
Well, yeah. So when you gave us the assignments to start writing stories, I had wrote about my home, growing up inside my home, or how it was. And it kind of brought back memory. It kind of brought back kind of bittersweet memories, because sweet because, knowing that, like my mother, having to experience her before which kind of gave me away. And then bitter because after that, I couldn't understand why she done it. So, but when I got to write it out and actually look at all the dynamics that were happening at the time, you actually get it. Well, I actually got a chance to kind of see it in a light that, it's very unusual because you get to look at it in the third person, so you can see all the players in the play, and you can kind of extract yourself from it and kind of give yourself a understanding of what people were going through and what was happening during the time. And so you can probably for me, I kind of got a better understanding of why certain decisions felt like they had to be made. And then, I can compare it to my own life, because there was some of their decisions kind of shaped the way my decisions were for my own child. So, yeah. That's what I got out of them.
Tell me, so the writing, I know when I was, because I took the training for this class, and the same stories that you wrote, I have also written. And when I was writing the stories, I know it just brought, of course, like you, it brought back so many memories. And even though we asked for 2 pages, mine went a little farther. And I just loved going back in that time. The one that I really enjoyed was Turning Points and the stories on my family. I really enjoyed that. The Turning Points, because that gave me the opportunity to really look back at my life. What happened in my life to turn me around? What story, which one did you like the most, Robert? Which one of the themes? Was it Turning Points, my family, I think you probably did the role of money. I'm not really sure because I switch them up for every class.
I think it was Turning Points that you did in our class, and it was that was a good one, because it gives you it kind of helps you connect the dots. So like you can look at it helped me connect dots as to where I had come from and help me see things that happened to shape the way I view life going forward. And a lot of those were some good ways. Some of them, made me cynical. And then some made me really think about my life and which direction I really wanted to go, kind of like a T point, like, okay, this is something that happened and I can either grow from it or not, So, that kind of helped me in that sense when you're writing. For me, that was a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, so let me clarify this. What we're doing now is what I'm doing really is asking them about the different how did they like the different parts of the class, really. Normally what I've done, or in the past what I've done, is I've had one of the guests to read one of their stories, and then everyone else gives feedback. But with this one, I decided, especially since it's been a while since I've given one, to just kind of go over what it is that we do. So thus far, I wanted to know why they joined the class. Secondly, I wanted to know their experience while writing. What effect did that have on them, your brain and everything else? And what I'm going to ask them now, the third question is, okay, the other part of it is the reading of the stories out loud and the feedback. Tell me about that.
Now, that was pretty powerful. I really did enjoy that. One thing about reading the story means that you have to write that story. You have a week to get it together and put it out. And I said, okay.
Good point, Sherri.
and I started writing it on a tab, and then I was working part-time, and I said, I'm going to left it. I'm going to do it at lunchtime. Mm-hmm. And then somebody said, well, why don't you use Google Docs? I said, I don't know what's wrong with my brain. Why did I not think of that? Because I can touch it anywhere, anytime. Mm-hmm. But having to have it written and know that you have to read it is something that you say you have to make a commitment to do it. Right. With that, and the feedback was really great because we had an opportunity to hear what people thought about what we said, and in the feedback itself, you could come up with different things that you say, I need to add that. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. So feedback is always a good thing. Robert.
Well, I also like the feedback because, when you're reading your story or when you're listening to someone read their story, you kind of see the similarities in your story versus their story, and though everybody is unique, there is still like a common thread between human beings. Like, everybody has something that they went through, something that's powerful that might have affected them in their upbringing or something that might have happened in their lives. And though it might not be the same scenario, it affects you in the same kind of way, like in the same kind of sense. So you get a sense of empathy, or you become conscious of someone else's plight, their story, So that's what I got out of it. Like, I'm not alone. There's other people who have had triumphs and had to overcome adversities. So it gives you hope that you're not alone. And so that's what it did for me.
That's a good point. I'm loving your responses, Sherri, when you said, first of all, you got to write it. That's a good point. That's true, because you are accountable. You're held. Yes, you're accountable. And so you have to have your story, because it's a give and take with the feedback, reading and the feedback. Why, if the other students have their stories, you should have yours as well. And not only that, that's really part of the benefit of the class, because a lot of us, we've tried to do it alone and we didn't get anywhere. Right? So, and this is the whole point, to be able to do it with others. It's just like if you got an exercise partner. That motivates you to.
It's the accountability part, like that right there. Like, they're gonna share, so I need to be able to share too, and so you want to try to get that done if you can. Sometimes some things happen, but if you can, you should, because it's going to be beneficial to you. I thought it was beneficial because I wanted to hear other people. I wanted to hear your story as well as versus mine. So it was exciting.
And I also like when you said you realize you're not alone. Right. So many of us think we're the only one who went through things. Oh, I'm the only one who did this. And once you start sharing, reading, you find out that you are definitely not the only one.
And it brings comfort to you when you know that. Because I remember years ago someone saying, a lot of times people think they're the only one who's dealing with this issue or this secret in your family or whatever. And you say, well, shoot. Other people have dealt with it too, and look at them; they're on top of the world,
Exactly, especially from your own family. Like when you can look back and say, "Wow, this is," when you're writing about your family and you're writing about your family viewpoints of how you grew up or what was going on in a certain period in your family life, you can say, "Wow!" Like I'll give you an example. Like my mother was a struggling single parent mother with 4 kids where the father wasn't paying child support at the time. So her mind was she wanted to be married or whatever. And so her thing was probably the same way a lot of people think today, how do I get, how do I put food on the table, go to work, take care of my kids, and take care of my own needs? And so you get to see all of that, and you get to, because, for me personally, I was like, how do I take care of my daughter? How I take care of me? Do I want to give my daughter to her mother? Do I need to fight for her? Do I need to travel? So it was there was a lot of things that I was thinking. So it made me conscious of what she was thinking, or he was thinking, so.
Right. You can get out of yourself and look at it from, like you said, the third person in a sense.
The third person, which is self-centeredness. That helps you out of that.
Right.
And another thing is something about reading out loud. It is something about hearing yourself saying those words. If I'm reading silently, it's different. But as soon as I start reading out loud, it's different. I do that with the scriptures. When I read them out loud, it's different. And so when you are reading your stories out loud, you're hearing yourself say these things. I had a couple of people to really break down and cry in the process of reading it.
Wow.
It's powerful. It's the hearing. Well, it says in the Bible that you learn by hearing, and so when you're hearing something, the power is in the hearing. Mm-hmm. So when you reading out loud, you hear your voice versus like just reading in silence.
That outer ear, it's like,
Right, exactly. Yeah. And and when you're reading out loud, you can kind of think wow, I'm hearing a story. You say, but I wrote that story.
Right.
But
this is my
you
story.
think of
yeah.
your children or your grandchildren or whatever hearing that story and think about, I would love to have heard a similar story from a descendant. From ancestor, I mean.
Yeah, and so when we do this, my hope is that each student will really begin to write their stories because they see the significance in doing it. And if you can just visualize your great grandchild looking back, seeing your picture and say, oh, look, that's my grandma Sherri, that's my grandpa Robert. What was he like? Instead of just seeing that name and that day, oh yeah, Robert. They would see a lot. They'd say, oh yeah, my grandpa was.
You not only see that For me, I look back and looked at my uncle, and I had saw my uncle in real life, but he passed earlier, transitioned early. So one day I just happened to looking at a picture of someone that had posted a picture, and I saw him, and I was like, "This dude looks just like me."
Isn't that something?
Yeah, he got the glass. I had to do a double take because I was like, "Wait a minute, that's my uncle, my granduncle," and I thought, "Wow, he looks just like me." And I wondered, do I even act like him? What traits do I got from him? But I won't know because nobody ever wrote anything down. So it was, there's no memory of that, just a picture. So the importance of letting someone know, and the best way to do that is documenting it. So, and there's several ways you can document it, but one of the best ways is through literature, because it stands the test of time.
That written word, that's right. Spoken word is good too, but that written word has really stood, like you said, the test of time. Okay, now I have one more thing that I want to ask you. What usually happens in these classes, I have noticed too, is that people bond. People bond. I think you two are a good example of that. Well, why don't y'all just kind of...
Robert feels like family to me. I don't know. He has such a beautiful spirit. I just love everything about Robert. Even when I first met him, I think the first time I met him was or was it Toastmasters?
It was Toastmasters.
It was Toastmasters.
But soon after that, we were in the class for writing.
And I just love Robert's spirit. He just seems like family to me. I like the way he smiled. I like his laugh. I love his energy, his heart. You can see it. And that's what is special. It just feel like family.
Well, I have the same sentiment. And I was, because... through writing, then hearing your story, and a lot of your story, the things that you had to overcome, that you didn't think you would overcome, and you overcame anyway. And so those kind of helped me see you in a light that I would normally not see. It's the vulnerability. So, and I think being vulnerable helps draw people to your the things that you've been through, because they have a sense, or at least I did, a sense of, like I said, empathy and not sympathy, but empathy, because you understand the other people's plight, because you've been through the same thing, and then vice versa, or along those same lines was when I met you, Miss Watkins. I felt for you because you were waiting to get your hair cut, but no,
that was true. That was true. And let me tell you what attracted. I would be sitting there because my barber. I'm gonna put him out there. He was always late. Antoine. Anyway, so one particular Saturday, when I went in, I used to listen to you. He was always talking to his customers, and I love that. And I said, this young man, he sound like he got some sense here, And then, and then that's where it began right there when Antoine couldn't be there that particular Saturday. And I said, yeah, I want you to go ahead and do me. And it's been that way ever since. But what's so good about that, though, is that Antoine is such a good person too. We're all friends. Yeah. It's no big deal. So what? You went to Robert,
Oh yeah, he's got a few of my clients too. So, they transfer.
Okay. Yeah. And so I like that because you can be in situations like that and you be like, I don't know. I've been in with women in beauty shops like that, and it's not that simple. Trust me. Okay, we're gonna leave that alone. You know what? Our time is really running out. I can't believe. Yes, I can.
It goes fast.
Yeah, when we love to talk, but this has truly been great. Is there anything else? Any last words that you would like to share?
I would just like to say, if anybody just don't know if this is something they might want to check out, they need to check it out. It is really enlightening. It brings a light, a reflection where you can look in the mirror and see yourself in a whole new light. And to have it documented, particularly the legacy letter, that right there is, if you do nothing else, you definitely should do that. But this workshop was an excellent workshop.
The legacy letter is what I think I'm going to focus on my next podcast. Robert, do you have any last words?
My last words are that I thank both of you ladies, and especially you, because you had inspired me to do a lot of things that I was already thinking about doing, but I would have just been on the fence in doing it. And by your guidance, it helped me to, break it down and easier to digest and to go with it. So I think anybody that wants to do this writing class should. And I think it's going to be beneficial to you. It was beneficial to me. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will let you know that I will be conducting an Outlive Your Life Legacy workshop at Ralph Ellison Library on November 11th, which is on a Saturday, from 1 to 3. Ralph Ellison Library is located 2000 Northeast 23rd Street, Oklahoma City. And I'm also on Facebook at Outlive Your Life Legacy Workshop. And, and I also do online classes. So if you are interested, my information, if you go to my Facebook page, my information is there where you can even send me a message and whatever comments you would like to. What I want you to remember is that your story is the most important part of you. Your struggles, your joys, all of that is a part of you. So own it, and tell your story and leave it for future generations. Now, this podcast, of course, is a part of the Building Bridges Network. Thank you. See you next week.